Hi guys, welcome to day 6 of our 30 days of taking out the trash challenge. As a reminder, you're going to fill up 3 pages on a spiral notebook or regular paper of just literally anything in the whole world. The only purpose is to fill up those 3 pages so that we're taking stuff from inside our brains and putting it on paper. You can rip it up afterwards, you can throw it away, you can keep it forever and frame it and put it on your wall if that is your choice. It doesn't matter, but the point is just to write anything, and that's what we're doing this month. Now, today I had an interesting this month we're kind of working out of my Facebook group. I love my Facebook group. It is so positive and so great. We actually had a jerk, actually on this post that I was going to talk about today. She came in, she was so judgy and mean and awful. And it was not a good fit for her. And she did leave the group, but this group is, everyone in my Facebook group is just kind and delightful. And it's non-judgmental except for that one lady who was banned. So that's great. And today I wanted to talk about one of the questions that we got in there. And my response that I wrote a few days ago currently has 98 likes and loves. And I think it is worth talking about. It is about femininity in the context of abuse. And so this question said that she was wondering how to be more feminine. She's been trying to get her marriage together for 15 years now, and it's been a disaster. And she felt like God finally told her, like, he is not good for you. It is time for you to move forward in faith. You have done everything you could do, and now it's time to move on. She felt like God told her that in the temple. And so now she's trying to deal with this divorce situation. And she said, what is the feminine way to handle abuse? What is the feminine way to handle abuse? Okay. And this is what I wrote because I think that everybody needs to hear it. I said, I'm praying for you now. Femininity does not tolerate abuse. The feminine way to handle abuse is to not. Feminine energy leaves. It does not coexist with abuse. Feminine energy cannot exist in a space where it is not cherished and taken care of and honored. When abuse energy shows up where femininity is, the feminine force exits ASAP. You are handling this in a feminine way because femininity does not tolerate abuse. Feminine energy is not an energy of an attack, but it is an energy of calmly exiting the situation and seeking the help and support it deserves. Feminine energy is naturally supported by God and the universe, even if it appears that human masculine energy is not supporting it. The most feminine thing a woman can ever do is listen to her own intuition and the voice of God. And that is what you are doing. As you exit this dangerous situation, the most feminine thing you can do is tune into your feelings, your gut, and your connection with the divine to lead and guide you. That is the masculine force you get to rely on. If your spirit is telling you to take these following actions, I vote to listen to your promptings. The most important thing you can do right now is make sure that you are as clear a vessel as possible for divine revelation, and then follow that revelation as you receive it. Okay, that is the comment that I wrote. And here, let me grab a copy of my book, Magnetic Femininity, which I have right here. Man, I ordered a whole bunch to sell at events, and they have a typo in them. So I'm like, I can't, it's like a little bit of a big one. So I'm like, dang it, it's okay. This is the very first, these are the very first copies that existed, but this is the book Magnetic Femininity, and it is on Amazon. And that is unfortunately the only place that you can buy it. If you want to not buy it on Amazon, you're still going to buy it from Amazon because they're the printer of it. But this is my magnum opus and everything that I have studied for over a decade about feminine energy. And, you know, the book is really for people. I mean, here's the deal. It's about femininity in kind of any context. You know, it is for single women and for married women, although there are sections about marriage. So single people, you know, you can skip those sections and just keep going, right? But here's the thing. Feminine energy, I mean, just like I said, it doesn't tolerate abuse. It leaves. It just leaves, okay? And it's not attacking about it, but feminine energy knows its own worth. And that is one of the core principles of feminine energy, is this intense knowledge of self-worth. It doesn't question its own existence. It doesn't feel a need to justify itself. It doesn't feel the need to justify its needs. Okay, feminine energy exists and knows that it is valuable because it is the source of all life. Okay, feminine energy is the source of all living beings, right? Just like how in the Bible, God creates Adam and Eve, and Eve's name is the mother of all living, right? That's what her name means. When we as women are all symbolic Eves, and we are all the mother of all living, even if we don't have children, even if we are children, as vessels of that feminine energy, we carry that maternal force, which is the force of all life. And we don't need to justify our existence. The amazing thing about being a woman is that there is so much that we can't do, which, for example, let's talk about opening pickle jars. Am I right? Like, there are just a lot of things that feminine energy and feminine bodies are not well suited for. Okay. I don't know if you've ever seen the reel where of like guys on the oil rig where they have to like pull this giant heavy thing and they're like doing this heavy hard work. Like, feminine bodies are not equipped for that. Masculine bodies are equipped for that. Um, I mean, man, I read this paper recently about how they studied the punches of men and women, and even when you control for muscle density and the amount of muscle involved, men still punch 26% harder than women, and they don't even know why. They don't even know why male muscles are so much more stronger and more capable than female muscles, but like, it just is a thing. And I used to be very, very resentful about this. And over time, I've come to realize like, it's not because women are worse. It like, we are truly different and we have different strengths and different needs. I used to be very resentful that I felt like the female body is not well equipped for self-sustaining, like, let's put it this way. If you've ever read Laura Ingalls Wilder's uh Little House on the Prairie, Pa, he's like, we need a house. He like pulls out his axe, he chops down 48 trees, he stacks them on top of each other alone in the wilderness with no help at all. Okay, like, that's cool. So, and guess who is not qualified to do that? Ma. Like, even if she didn't have her little daughters to take care of, her body is not equipped to do that. And that's just how it is. As women, we rely on men for shelter, for the infrastructure that we live in. In my book, I point out that, hold on. Hold on. Anyway, in my book, I point out that as women, we live in houses that are built by men. We use cars that were invented by men and built in factories by men, and they use gasoline that was, pumped by men and driven to the gas station by men, and the gas station is mostly owned by men. Even though we live in a world where we have been very divorced from our actual dependents, like, it's not obvious. We don't go outside and see men, 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 men. We don't, it used to be a little bit more in your face, and with all of this modern technology, it's less in your face, and it can be easy to forget that we are in a dependent situation because of our bodies and because of our innate feminine natures. And I used to be very resentful about this and angry, and I've come to terms with the fact that this is not the worst thing. This is not a punishment. It's not because we're worse. It is because we're different, and um it can be a beautiful thing when we step into it and embrace it. I just saw I think it was Marilyn Monroe quote yesterday where she just said the greatest blessing of her life was that she was born a woman, and that she wished that all of the women felt that way. And I loved that. And as I'm talking about it, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll cry about that because I spent so much of my life hating that I was a woman. Um, when actually it can be this huge blessing if we step into it. Um, all of that is to say that feminine energy has a lot of needs. We need support to survive in a way that men and masculine energy do not. Okay. Where a man can go and build his own house in the woods like Pa Wilder, we're not equipped for that. And we do need masculine support just to survive, you know. I actually just read that they found some new what are they called? The clay tablets in Mesopotamia. And it was maybe it was Egypt. It might have been Egypt, but they found these clay tablets where uh, it was the employment records and the record of the days that people took off. And they found that men would take off work to go and manage their house while their women were bleeding, because there's a whole week out of the whole month where without tampons and pads, women were completely unable to do their normal life. They had to sit down and rest and bleed for a week, and their husband would have to go and manage everything. Our biological realities are so stark and so intense. And again, our modern technologies kind of shield us from the realities of them somewhat. Like, you can live your normal life as a woman, no matter what time of the month it is, as long as you have, a tampon or something. But like, that was not normal life for the vast majority of human history. And so we're in a very interesting kind of situation. But again, the point is, feminine energy knows that it's worth it. The essence of feminine energy is this intense knowledge of self-worth. And when a woman is in her feminine energy, she knows that she is important just because she is female. That's it. That's it. You don't have to earn it. Not having to earn it is part of that feminine energy. And so when a feminine force is subjected to abusive energy, that feminine force just has no space for it. It's just like, oh, you're going to treat me that way? Like, goodbye. I have no space for that. I don't have to tolerate that. I'm God's beloved daughter, and God will provide for me if you will not provide for me. God will protect me if you will not protect me. So adios. And that's a lot easier said than done, especially in these situations where, our poster in here, I think, has been married for like decades. And now she's like trying to get out of this horrible, abusive mess. And, easier said than done to wake up one day and say, I'm actually important and God is going to take care of me and goodbye. I get it. It's not that simple. And I have some sessions that may be helpful. I have one on considering divorce. I have one on narcissistic abuse. So I will link those below. But that is one thing that I just wanted to talk about today. Feminine energy does not tolerate abuse. It doesn't. I had somebody send me this thing where she's like, your book is really inappropriate for people that are in abusive marriages and it's going to make them stay. And I'm like, I don't think you read that book. I don't think you read it all the way. Or maybe you read it with a lot of triggers. Maybe you listened to it. What I've been finding is people that listen to the Audible on double speed are missing massive points or like interpreting things the opposite of intended. I'm like, what is happening? But this is the kind of thing where you want to like read it slowly and like pay attention to the words. I did record it myself, and I've heard from several people that hearing my tone of voice as I'm explaining, as I'm reading this book, like kind of helps them realize the tone in which every sentence was intended. It's funny because a lot of the book, I have to say, this is what I mean. This is not what I mean. I do not mean this. And I do mean this, because I knew going into this, all of this is such triggery information that a lot of women would read it with their triggers and lose their minds. And so I had to be like very, very clear. And I felt like I couldn't edit any of that stuff out. But it is true that I don't have a massive section on here about leaving abusive marriages. I do have a small section on that at the end. But throughout the book, I try to make it very clear that feminine energy is not about submitting to evil people. That's not the point. It's not submission to anybody just because they're a man or just because of anything. That's not the message here. And when people are reading that and getting that message, I am here to say they are totally misconstruing the concept. But the purpose of this book is not to save marriages. The purpose of this book is to save you. Not to save you like you need saving, but just to say this isn't about healing your marriage. It's about healing your life. And when you heal your own feminine energy, you start to heal your life. A feminine woman does not tolerate abuse. She does not stay in an abusive marriage. On the other hand, many times when women step into their feminine energy, all of a sudden it repolarizes the relationship and the marriage is no longer abusive. So it's kind of a little bit of a two-way street, but the point is not to force a marriage to change. It's not to force a man to change. The point is to heal yourself so that you can live a happy life and know every day that you are worth it and that you're important and that you matter. That's the real point. The real point is that if a marriage works out, if a man changes his tune and things start getting more pleasant in your life, like that is a great little like side benefit, but it's not the point. The point is not marriage, and the point is not the other people in your life. The point is you. And the point is that you are so important that it is worth everything that you have to do the work it takes to know that you are incredibly worthy, worthful, You matter. That's the point. The point is that you are critical. Your body and your spirit and your mind and your heart are important and they matter. And they matter whether or not you're doing important stuff, whether or not you're famous, whether or not you've got a big following, whether or not you have kids, whether or not you are married. Okay. All you have to do is be alive. You are the mother of all living, whether or not you have kids. You are a channel of that feminine force, and that means that you are important no matter what. So that is what I have to say today. I'll put the link to this below in case you don't have a copy yet. I think it's worth it. I have a little Facebook group just for that book as well. It's much smaller than my other group, and you know, we're still building it out. I've obviously got a lot going on, so it's just taken a while. But feminine energy doesn't tolerate abuse. It leaves. That's the important thing that we need to take away from this. And thank you guys for being here. I hope you have a good day.